Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavad Gita class. We are in chapter 9. Before we start, we will recite the Mangalacharan prayers. So I will share my screen and we can recite the prayers. Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Chaitanyam Manokishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Vandeham Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajatam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Paritam Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahakana Radha Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vishesha Shunyavadi Ashatya Deshatasi Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Vesha Radha Kanta Namostute Aptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so thank you for joining. We will continue the discussion on Bhagavad Gita. I will share my screen shortly, and again, as usual, request to all of you, please pay very careful attention. Chapter 9 is the most important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and we are in the very most important section of the 9th chapter. So it will be a good act of bhakti to listen Bhagavad Gita with very careful attention. It will help you very much in understanding the message of the Lord and to apply it in your life as well. If you understand the benefit, the motivation, and the all the details and reasons that Lord Krishna is giving about Krishna Bhakti. So please listen very carefully, don't multitask, etc. And one of the ways to force yourself to not do that, at least in my experience, is to turn on your camera. So that way you are sort of, forced. I feel that when I listen to classes. So up to you, your choice, no pressure, but still. And yeah, so we will start with we'll continue with chapter 9. So, okay, I need to share my screen. Oh, not from here. Wait, I need to share from the iPad. Okay, so we are on chapter 9 and we will start from 9.22. So just to kind of give since we met 2 weeks back, or we didn't have class for 2 weeks, I think, or 1 week, I cannot remember. 2 weeks, maybe, yeah, okay. Just a very quick recap. Lord Krishna is describing in this section about demigods, or those who worship the devis and devatas or demigods. So in 9.10 and 9.11 and 9.12, Lord Krishna described the asuras. 9.13 and 9.14, Lord Krishna described the Shuddha Bhaktas. And then Lord Krishna is describing three categories. One is the worshippers of the universal form. One is the worshippers of the demigods. And one is the impersonal Brahman worshippers. So we discussed from 9.16 to 9.20 the worshippers of the universal form. Now we are in this section. This will be dealt with in chapter number 12, not right now. So this topic will be discussed at that point. 9.21 to 9.25 is a discussion on those who worship the devis and devatas or the demigods. So demigods is the English term for devis and devatas. Okay. Now, many of us who are from India are very familiar with demigod worship, devi devata worship. So this is not something very uncommon or very hard to understand. So in the last class, which we had 3 weeks back, Lord Krishna had already described the aspect of the demigod worship. In 9.21, Lord Krishna says that, I will just read the English translation, that after having enjoyed for a very long time in the Svargaloka, once their pious credits have been exhausted, have been used up, then those people come back to the Mrityu Sansara. So, or the Martya Lokam Vishanti, to the earthly planet, and there they start the cycle of gaining pious credits again, so that they can go back to Svargaloka. But if they take some missteps, if they take some wrong actions, they could go down also. So that is the risk. Otherwise, you can be in this cycle permanently, which we all are very familiar with. Work hard, then enjoy. Come back, work hard, enjoy, use up your credit card, come back, enjoy, pay the credit card bills, and then again go and enjoy. So like that, we are trapped in the cycle. One is trapped in the cycle of this Swarga and samsara, the cycle of samsara, through this worship of the demigods. Okay, now just to contrast the link from 9.21 to 9.22, 9.22 is a special verse. So Lord Krishna just wants to clarify that, one sec. I need 1 minute. There is some problem here at my end. Give me 1 minute. Okay, great. I got it. I have these notes online in sometimes I make notes in a document, and I had the old version of the document open. So I was wondering that when I was making the notes, I was not able to see what I had noted down. Now I have opened the correct version. Okay, so we are all set. So in 9.22 is a special verse. So the question that may arise in someone's mind is that those who worship the demigods, they enjoy very long time in Swargaloka. Okay, very good. After that, they come back to the Earth planet to continue the cycle, but at least they enjoy in Swargaloka. So what about the devotees? What about devotees or bhaktas of Krishna? Do they also go to Swarga? Do they also get to enjoy? And what happens to their enjoyment, so to say? Now, the word enjoyment, I am just kind of using it as an overloaded term, but I will clarify. We can think of it more like not just not enjoyment, but how are their necessities of life, how are their basic needs fulfilled? If they are not getting these benefits from the demigods, who fulfills their basic needs? What happens to them? To that, so that is the sort of the question, that is the link between 21 and 22. In verse number 22, Lord Krishna is saying, I take care of my devotees. I protect them. I provide whatever they are lacking, and I preserve whatever they are having. So the two fundamental fears that one has, a human being or, even animals. So two fundamental fears. One is provisions, which means what I need, and then protections, which means what I have. So to be able to take care of both these needs, provisions and protections, and exactly these 2 points Lord Krishna is addressing in 9.22. Lord Krishna is saying that I take care of these for my, I should say in capital letters, my devotees. So Lord Krishna is giving a very, very strong promise here to protect and provide for his devotees. This is one of, like I was mentioning last time, this is one of the most faith-building verses in entire Bhagavad Gita. One of the, or I would say the most faith-building verse in entire Bhagavad Gita. Another verse which is very, very faith-building, at least for me, that I find is 18.68, where Lord Krishna is saying that those who spread the message of Bhagavad Gita to others, those who share Bhagavad Gita with others, there is nobody in the whole universe who is more dear to me than such a person who is sharing this message with others. So Lord Krishna considers that particular servant of his who is engaged in sharing Bhagavad Gita as his dearmost servant. So that is another very, very faith-building verse, especially for those who in any shape or form are spreading Lord Krishna's message, whether it be just by, sharing it casually with friends, instead of talking about what is the latest movie and what is the latest politics, sharing about Lord Krishna's message. It takes some courage and some overcoming some inhibitions, but the result that Lord Krishna says that he is my most loved devotee. I love this devotee the most. So that is another one which I find personally, because I am a little bit engaged in sharing Bhagavad Gita. Hopefully I'm not doing a disservice, at least. So that is another very faith-building verse. But other than that, this is the most faith-building verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita. So let us go through this verse 9.22. Okay. So what does Lord Krishna say? Ananyas chintayanto maam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So what does Lord Krishna say? Ananyash chintayanto mam. So we'll go through each word. Ananya, this word is very important. Ananya bhakti. Lord Krishna is focusing on Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti means exclusive devotion to Krishna, not putting your leg in two boats. Only Lord Krishna. Now it also does not mean, okay, Lord Krishna and some demigod. That is not the only two boats aspect. Typically, the most common second boat, okay, one boat is Krishna. What is the most common second boat? Not any other demigod, something else.
Devotees satsanga.
No,
Sadhu.
No. Please think what I'm asking carefully and then try to answer. I'm asking what is the other. That devotee satsang will be the same as Krishna Bhakti. They are all the same boat. What else?
Yes. Dan.
Dan, okay.
Dan.
Material, like material fulfillment.
Guru.
Yes, whoever said material fulfillment. So what we are trying to do, many people, is Krishna Bhakti plus material sense enjoyment. Both, a mixture of both. Please look into your life. It is quite true in my life also. I'm not doing Ananya Bhakti. There is material enjoyment. So that is the second boat. How many of you remember we started this class almost, I don't know how many months back, several months ago, but in the beginning, I used to point to a short 15-minute story, a audio story, very nice story. Anybody remembers the name of that story?
Three stones.
Three stones?
Yes, 3 stone carriers.
Carriers.
Please go and listen to this audio story. It is on our website. The website is not very complicated. There is something called other links or some resources. There you will find a MP3. The website name is www.gitapdx.com. So you can go there and you can listen to this MP3 audio called 3 Stone Carriers. How many of you remember that story? And which carrier was in these 2 boats?
The middle one.
Yes, very nice. So the middle one, the second one, what was he trying to do? He was trying to keep his stones and cross the river at the same time. Do you remember? Okay, so anyway, the short point is Ananya Bhakti. First word, we spent so much time just on the first word, Ananya Bhakti. Kindly mute yourself. You can hear some nice bird chirping and all. It is nice, but still, please mute yourself, okay? Okay. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. So exclusive bhakti to Krishna, that's the first. Those who are doing Chintayanto Mams means always thinking exclusively of Krishna, not thinking about anything else. So that is pure devotees, Shuddha Bhakti. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. Very clear, Lord Krishna is saying my bhakti. So one should not confuse this with any other type of bhakti. Okay. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. Ye janah paryupasate. Such people, those who are doing this Ananya Bhakti and are engaged in worshipping me, pari upasate, the highest type of worship. Par upasate means wherever the para is like Paramatma or Parabrahma. So pari upasate means very high level of worship they are doing with their mind, chintayanto, ananya, exclusively focused on me. So you can, are you able to stitch all these words together and make a sentence? Or you are understanding, right? Very high level of worship those who are doing exclusively by putting all of their mind on me. Okay, that is the kind of thing. Tesham nitya abhiyuktanam, for these people, for such people, again Lord Krishna is emphasizing on the fact that they are continuously nitya abhiyuktanam, they are engaged in bhakti to me. Tesham nitya abhiyuktanam, for such people. The last line is the most important, the 9.22d. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. What does Lord Krishna do? So first 3 lines are describing what the devotee does. So the Shuddha Bhakta is doing those things. In the first 3 lines, Lord Krishna does 2 things. Yoga kshemam. And then vahami aham. Vahamyaham is separated as vahami aham. So 2 things Lord Krishna is doing. Yoga kshemam means protect. And vahami means carry. Vahan, vehicle. Vaha means anything that carries. So vahami aham. Vahami, I do. Aham, I carry. So yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I protect or I preserve their yoga. So the exact Sanskrit meaning of this is I protect their spiritual progress. I protect whatever spiritual progress and their spiritual inspiration and their spiritual motivation, I protect. That means their ability to do their bhakti to me will never be impeded. Are you following? Their ability to do bhakti will always be there. Not only the physical ability, but even the emotional, mental, inspirational ability, their inspiration will never go away. Nothing will be able to damage or dampen or dent their inspiration. Some people say, oh, this bad thing happened in my life, I will never worship God anymore. That kind of thing will never happen. Okay, so that is yoga kshemam. Now our acharyas, who are great pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada, Sri Vishvanath Chakravarthy Thakur, Baladev Vidya Bhushan, especially, let me look at my notes here. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarthy Thakur, in his commentary, and he's a great, great devotee. He is commenting that even the physical or the bodily aspects, the Lord protects and provides, not just the spiritual. So, and vahami means I carry whatever is missing. So whatever they have, I protect, and anything that is missing, I carry it to them. I personally carry it to them. So this is an extremely, extremely important verse where Lord is saying that his devotees need not worry. They should not even think 1 second about when will I go to Swarga? When will I get all these opulences and all these things? Don't worry. I will provide everything to you. Everything. Now, in some cases, the devotees may be not so opulent, so rich, or so wealthy. Sometimes the Lord provides, like a father doesn't always provide everything that the child asks for if the child is immature. If the child is very mature, he will only ask for things that are beneficial to him, and father will readily provide. I have 2 children. I have plenty of experience of this. I have spent thousands of dollars on them for things which are necessary and which are good for them, which will nourish them, not just in their studies and all, but even in play, even in for having good kind of fun, no problem. But for anything, if they, that will harm or hurt their mental, spiritual, or even bodily progress, even if it is for $1, I would say no. So that is the mood of the father. So sometimes if the immature devotee asks, or why am I not so rich? Why am I? It's because the Lord wants to protect the devotee. It is not because the Lord is stingy or doesn't care for the devotee. Okay, so many things can be said about this. I will try to balance the time and go through this verse. So there are many stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas and other scriptures that show the justification of this verse. So practically every single story in the Srimad Bhagavatam shows or exemplifies this message. So what are some of the stories that exemplify this message in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Where the Lord protects his devotees and provides for his devotee. Remember these two words, provide plus protect.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Very nice. Prahlad, number one example, isn't it? The Lord protected Prahlad. It is not that Prahlad was demanding the Lord's protection. That's another topic which we will soon come to. So the Lord, what other examples? So many, actually any example you take from Bhagavatam, this will apply.
Even when Jal Bharat was in
Arjuna.
form of, even in when Jal Bharat was in the form of deer, he remembered the past.
Exactly, in the form of deer. By the Lord's mercy, he could remember his past life, and he went to the ashram of Pulatsya Muni and lived there as a deer. Even as a Jad Bharat, as a, from the dacoits, he was saved from dacoits, if you remember. And so many, other, who else?
Pandavas, Arjun being the biggest example.
Very nice. Pandavas, so many times. So by the way, we should not get discouraged by the example of the Pandavas. Sometimes the devotees of the Lord, who are very strong devotees, very elevated and advanced devotees, the Lord uses them in his Leela, and they sometimes undergo suffering, but so that they exemplify various either aspects of dharma or bhakti or any other aspects that the Lord wants to demonstrate. So Pandavas also went through a lot of suffering. If they were, that's a very common question, that if Pandavas were such great devotees of the Lord, why did they suffer so much injustice? I mean, of course, the Lord saved them at the crucial moments, like he saved Draupadi from being insulted, but still they had to spend 13 years in the forest, and it wasn't very comfortable. The Lord saved them even in the forest at so many times, from Durvasa Muni, from the Kauravas, in the Agyatavas, when they were about to be discovered, the Lord saved them. So many places and times the Lord guided them. But one can ask, how come the Pandavas underwent all the suffering? So the highest devotees of the Lord, we should not apply this rule on them. They do not feel even one tinge of suffering. That is the main point. From our standpoint, we feel, oh, he is suffering so much. They are suffering so much. You go and ask them. They will say, we are so happy. Wherever we are, I just want Krishna with me. That is my happiness. So their standard of happiness or their yardstick of happiness is completely different from our yardstick. So never think or never try to measure their happiness by our yardstick. Okay? So don't make that mistake. Otherwise, you will always come to wrong conclusion. Don't apply this yardstick. So there are, okay, which other devotees? So many are there.
Gajendra Moksha.
Gajendra, very nice. Gajendra. So he was saved. Literally, the Lord came personally. And one of the descriptions of one of the acharyas has commented that when the Lord was coming to save Gajendra, Garuda, he was sitting on the Garuda, and there is the famous picture, right? When sitting on the Garuda was not flying fast enough to reach Gajendra. The Lord said, Garuda, you stop. He carried Garuda. The Lord carried Garuda, saying, I can go faster than you. So you sit on top of me. I will carry you to Gajendra. And the Lord went much, much faster. That is how much the Lord cares for his devotee. There are so many examples. Bali Maharaj, the Lord saved him. Now it can look that the Lord took away, but go to the previous Bhagavatam classes, or you can read directly from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, how there is beautiful description that the Lord saved Bali Maharaj. It appears that there is a very beautiful description given by Shri Vishvanath Chakravarthy Thakur there, that he says, Bali Maharaj is thinking, my dear Lord, you think you have tricked me, but actually I have tricked you. And you can go and listen to that. That's a very beautiful, mind-blowing. I fell off from my chair when I read that. Such an intimate sort of a exchange of love between Bali Maharaj and the Lord. So many examples. Ambarish Maharaj, very nice. How the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord saved Ambarish Maharaj. And so many examples are there. Vritrasura is there. Dhruva is there.
Prabhuji, Govardhan Leela also in Srimad Bhagavatam. No?
Yeah, Govardhan Leela, all the devotees of Govardhan, of Vraja or Vrindavan, they were protected by the Lord. Then Narad Muni in the first canto, and we can keep going, okay? So there are so many examples of the Lord providing and protecting. All the Gopas, so many times he protected all the Gopas. They all entered the mouth of Aghasur. By the time they entered the mouth of Aghasura, the Lord had protected the Gopas so many times from the other demons. They said, this Aghasur, or his mouth was like a cave. He was a big, big python. And one Gopa said, something looks wrong. Let's not go there. Another Gopa said, doesn't matter, let's go. Anyway, Krishna will save us. If anything wrong happens, anything bad happens, Krishna is there, he will save us. So they were by that time so confident and so dependent on Krishna that they had no fear. Anyway, so yeah, all these examples are there. So let's come back to the philosophy. So, and kindly mute yourself. So even though some of the important points that are to be discussed here is that even though this looks like a deal, like a exchange means like I give you this, you give me this. It is not like that. That is not how one should understand it. It is not like you are hiring Krishna. By doing bhakti, you are hiring Krishna to become your order supplier or your bodyguard. Okay, that is not the case. The point here is that the devotee never, I can write never like 100 times here, never expects or demands Krishna's protection or provision. Now, devotee may know this, that Krishna will protect and he will provide, because devotees have read Bhagavad Gita, but they do not expect it, they do not ask for it, they do not demand it, nothing. They pretty much forget this verse. So now you have all heard it. After hearing it, you all should forget the verse. Don't assume that this verse exists. The only verse that you should the only part of the verse you should remember is Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. That's what you should do. Don't remember what Krishna must do. Don't expect, because, so the main point is no expectation of Krishna's protection or provision. But Krishna is such a loving father, such a loving father that he will anyway do it. So this verse is showing Krishna's mood. It is not to develop our demand or our expectation from Krishna. So that is one point that to be understood. Another point to be understood is that Lord protects and provides for our spiritual needs. Okay, and for various types of devotees, the spiritual needs at some level could also translate to material needs. So which means for some basic necessity, for basic livelihood or necessities of life. So the Lord definitely provides for that. He does not give so much opulence, so much wealth, so much richness to a devotee that he may get deviated, that he may get swayed away from Krishna, but the Lord gives enough so that he can comfortably perform Krishna bhakti. So one of the best examples, now there are 3 examples that I want to quote. Okay, the first example is Srila Prabhupada. Okay, now before he left for the US, he became famous in the whole world because of his spreading of Krishna consciousness in the Western world. So he landed in USA in 1965. Before that, nobody knew about him. Some people knew, but he wasn't a worldwide celebrity, so to say, or famous. And he came to the United States in 1965. Before that itself, he had a darshan of Sri Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, imagine, who is a direct associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna. I do not need to, at this point, to you, audience like you, I do not need to explain who Sri Rupa Goswami is. There is this very famous picture where Rupa Goswami gave him darshan and said that you go to the West and preach and spread this message of Lord Krishna, and I will always be by your side. Can you imagine the gravity of this? Some of you may be able to imagine the gravity of this statement or this situation where Rupa Goswami is appearing to Srila Prabhupada and saying, I will always be by your side, which pretty much means that the success of Srila Prabhupada was guaranteed, 100% guaranteed. Still, Srila Prabhupada put so much effort. He struggled so much. He, put so much effort to spread Krishna consciousness all throughout the world. He could have said, oh, now I have the guarantee. Even if I do little bit, it is bound to happen. My success, or not my success, but the success of Krishna consciousness movement is guaranteed. I don't need to work hard. No, that's not how the devotee thinks. What is another striking example? Very similar striking example, that knowing that success will be there, he still fought hard. I have given a clue.
Arjuna.
Say something more. How?
I mean, because Arjuna, Krishna is a Sarthi, right? So he knows that when Krishna is by his side, he's a pure devotee. So he knows that I'm bound to win. But all these questions that is asked, he's just trying to exemplify. Like as you said, Krishna always shows with example, right? So
even more than that. So you are absolutely right. Arjuna is the example that I had in mind. But in the 11th chapter, which we have not covered yet, Lord Krishna shows the Vishwarup or the Virat Roop form, the universal form. And there Arjuna is able to directly see all the Kauravas getting killed. And the Pandavas are all saved. He sees there directly that every single Kaurava is killed. So he is able to foresee. It's like you're seeing a crystal ball. We say, he could get that crystal ball vision that he has won and the Kauravas are all dead. He got that directly from Krishna himself. So he could have become lethargic. He could have said, okay, why I have to put more effort? I will be, the Lord will carry. Why I have to put effort? Now, would you say that Arjun fought valiantly or he fought lethargically? You will all agree that Arjuna fought so valiantly. He did not hold back his valor or his spirit of fighting even 1%, even though he had full guarantee from the Lord. Are you following? So that is the mood of pure devotee. Okay, so the Lord is giving a guarantee in 9.22, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. But we should not demand, we should not expect, we should do our bhakti. Now, obviously when Arjun fought, it was an act of bhakti because he was following Krishna's order. It was not like he was fighting to win. He was fighting because Krishna asked him to fight. He would just follow Krishna's instruction. Krishna would give him step-by-step instructions on a daily basis. Today you do this. Right now you do this. You do this. You do this. He would do that. So basically, his act of fighting the war was nothing but a worship of Krishna. Those 18 days of war was nothing other than worship for him because he was following Krishna's instructions. So, but he did that very sincerely, even though his success was guaranteed. So that is one example. There
Prabhuji,
are two.
I have a question about this.
Mm-hmm.
So Prabhuji, when like Duryodhan and Arjun are there to Sri Krishna and Arjun says that he does not want the Narayani sena, he wants only Narayan. Can we say that he was still at that time very sure that like he was sure of his victory even then, which is why he had so much faith in the Lord and said that I don't want anything except you?
So, okay, very nice question. No, he was not sure of his victory at a material level. Whether he gets the kingdom or whether he wins the war or whether he comes out alive from the war or he dies, that was not sure. What he was sure was that whatever happens, I will be with Krishna. Even if I die in the war, I will die looking at Krishna. And that is what I want. An exact same thing that did not happen to Arjuna, by the way, but that happened to another devotee of Krishna. Who is that? He also,
Bhishma Pitama.
not
Bhishma
Abhimanyu.
Pitama.
Very nice. Bhishma. He also entered the war with the same mood, though it is not described in the Bhagavatam in that way. But if you read the Bhishma Stuti in Canto 1, you will see that the mood of Bhishma Pitamaha was just to reciprocate with Krishna in a virya ras, in a bhava of valor. He wanted to just worship Krishna. Yes, the side discussion is that he was fighting for the Kauravas and all those things. But what he was doing for the 10 days, he was killed on the 10th day. Not killed, he left his body much later. He was sitting on or lying on the bed of arrows, but he stopped fighting after the 10th day. And all those 10 days for Bhishma Pitamaha was a worship of Krishna as well. And he, was injured badly and he was lying on the bed of arrows. But he was saying that I thoroughly enjoyed. This was my dream come true to always look. He said, I am more fortunate than Arjuna. Arjuna only saw the back of Krishna. I could always see the face of Krishna because I was on the opposite side. So he said, I am more fortunate. Both Arjuna and me are both fighting like devotees because they want to please Krishna. But I am more fortunate because I could see the face of Krishna for all 10 days. So in that way, whether you live or die is not the point. The point is devotion or bhakti to Krishna, and always keep Krishna in your mind and leave your body. Everybody has to leave their body one day. Leave your body looking at Krishna, thinking of Krishna. Antakale cha mameva smarana muktva kalevaram. So mameva, antakale cha mameva smarana. So one who only remembers me at the time of death will attain me. So Bhishma Pitamaha attained Krishna. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Yeah, so it does not matter. It's not the winning or losing. It is about whether during the act of fighting, I am able to remember Krishna all the time, whether I am able to act in the capacity of a devotee of Krishna all the time. So there are two very two more stories or two more, I don't want to write stories, but what should I say? Pastimes, yes. Leelas. One is that of Arjuna Acharya. And that is directly related to Bhagavad Gita 9.22 verse. So there was one Acharya by the name of Arjuna Acharya. This is very sweet and very heart-melting story. So every time I narrate this story, I become very emotional. So there was this Acharya, Arjuna Acharya, who was writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and he was a Brahmana and very poor Brahmana. So what he used to do was he used to just go and beg. Brahmanas live by begging. Begging is not a bad thing. I mean, you go and basically you accept whatever is given, and you accept it as a mercy of the Lord, what you get, and you consume that. So, yeah, bhiksha. So he used to beg in 3 houses. So he was writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and one day he was at this verse 9.22. And that day he went and on bhiksha, and he did not get anything. So he came back empty-handed and he had said, I will only beg from 3 houses. So he did not get anything. And he was very poor, and his wife and even his children were hungry. So he was thinking that why is this happening to me? And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham. But then he got a doubt in the mind that maybe this line is wrong. Somebody else must have put this line in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna must not have said this line, that Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham. So he was so sad. So he took his red pen and he crossed out that line, Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham. And because he was convinced that Lord Krishna would not say this to Arjuna. And then he went for a bath, for his evening bath. Brahmanas take bath twice or thrice a day. In the meantime, and then after some time he came back. And then when he came back to his house, he saw his house was full of items. So much rice and wheat and sugar and vegetables and spices. Everything was so full in the house. And he asked his wife, oh, what happened? How did all these things show up here? And she was very angry at him, very angry. She said, you are a rascal. You are a very bad person. He says, what happened? I didn't do anything. So she said that all this stuff 2 young boys brought to my house, and they told me that you had sent all this stuff, and they carried all this in so many pots. They put like a bamboo on their shoulder, and both sides of the bamboo there were all these pots, and they said you ordered them to go and deliver it at my house, at his house. And you told those 2 young boys to carry so much heavy stuff. How can you be so cruel? they were almost unable to carry all these things, heavy things. And how can you make those young boys carry so many things? And not only that, when they put all the stuff in the house, when they were leaving, I saw red marks on their back. And I asked them that how come these red marks are there? He said, your husband beat me. And so our skin has all these red marks. So then she said, I'm so angry at you. I don't want to see your face. Then he realized what is going on. He said, how did those boys look like? And she said, one had a dark complexion and one had a light, fair complexion. And the dark complexion boy had a flute in his hands. So then he realized that Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram had come personally and brought all these things. And I was such a fool that I put this red mark on that verse. I cut it out. And those were the red marks that were on his body, because Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the body of Lord Shri Krishna. So he felt very, very ashamed, and he went and removed that red line from Bhagavad Gita and wrote very nice commentary on that line, saying that definitely the Lord protects and provides for his devotees. So this story of Arjuna Acharya has been described by Srila Prabhupada many, many times. And the Lord never forgets his devotees, never. Even a small ant, he does not forget. He is the Supreme Lord. One can think, how can the Lord, take care of so many trillions and zillions of creatures in so many planets, in so many universes? He is God. He can personally take care of, not only through his agents, but personally take care of all his devotees. Now, we are short on time, but there is another very, very beautiful story of Narsi Mehta. He was a great, great devotee several hundred years back of Lord Krishna or Lord Vithala. And I'll tell the story in short. It is very similar to the story of Arjuna Acharya. He was a very simple devotee and was always engaged in Krishna bhajan. And he had a very envious brother. So one time they had to celebrate the annual disappearance day of their father. So every time the brother used to celebrate, this time he said, you celebrate the disappearance or the passing away, the anniversary, the death anniversary of their father. He said, okay. Then till the last day, he was busy in Krishna bhajan. He didn't care much. His wife was getting more anxious. What will happen? Why did you promise that you will do this? Go get some grocery from the market. Now, he did not have any money. So he went to the grocery market, and his brother was so envious. He announced in the whole village, oh, today Narsi Mehta has invited you to the house. So the whole village came to his house. So he wanted more people to come to the house so that he will be more humiliated, because he knew that there will be nothing in the house. And then when he went to the market, he told one shopkeeper that when Narsi Mehta comes, you just ask him to do bhajan. So he went to one shopkeeper and to buy some things, buy some items. So he said, where's the money? He said, I don't have money. He said, why don't you do bhajan for some time? Then I can give it to you for free. So he said, okay, no problem. He always liked to do bhajan. So he started doing bhajan, and he lost track of time. And he kept doing bhajan till end of the day. It was night, and he closed the shopkeeper closed the shop and went away. So then he came home after some time, and his wife was very happy. And he said that his wife said, oh, so you have taken bath, you have come back? He said, I didn't take bath, but what is going on? We said, everything you did so nicely. She said, what did I do? He said, you did everything. You brought so many things from the market, and you brought even gold plates. You brought nice gifts for the guests, saris and clothes and everything you brought from the market. Everybody came. You came with a lot of servants also. They cooked all the feast, and all the guests were so happy, and they got all the gifts that you brought. We distributed so many gifts, and they went away very, very happy. And then afterward, you said that now I will have food. So you went to take bath. Now you have come back from the bath. So come sit down and we will have food. We will have prasad. And he obviously was unaware, because he did not do anything like this. Then he realized that the Lord had come in his place and done all those things. And he was very, very filled with so much gratitude for the Lord. So this is how the Lord protects. There are innumerable stories like this. And these maybe you may think that these are just one-off stories here and there and all those things. But please remember that the stories that are more popular that you hear, please listen to this carefully, very carefully. Open your eyes, open your ears, wake up. Okay? Stop whatever you are doing. We hear many stories where devotees suffer. Okay, that is the nature of Kaliyuga. To make news. The stories that make news are when devotees suffer. Are, he was such a great devotee and he had to suffer. The nature is that what makes news is something that creates forgetfulness, or that creates what we say, deviation, or which creates a
unawareness,
distraction,
deviation,
distraction
from Krishna. Not distraction. Distraction just means, okay, looks like a temporary distraction, but which creates forgetfulness or takes us away from Krishna. Those stories make news. And the nature of Kaliyuga, especially Kaliyuga, is such that when things happen in our favor, when there is undeserved pleasure or undeserved happiness, we attribute, so undeserved happiness. And here there is suffering. Now I'm not writing undeserved, because for everyone, all suffering is undeserved. Nobody will think in this world that suffering, I deserve suffering. Everybody is such a holy cow in this Kaliyuga that nobody deserves suffering. So I'm not even caring to write the word undeserved, because everybody considers suffering to be undeserved. Now happiness, the opposite happens. Everybody thinks they deserve a lot of happiness. So they don't even care to stop and think that when some happiness or some pleasure is coming my way, is it deserving or undeserving? They think either it is due to my punya karma, which means I must have done something good, so I deserve it now. Now I am reaping the benefits. It was a good seed that I had sown in the past. Now I am reaping the sweet fruits. So that is one thing. Or it is some coincidence. But they will never attribute it to Krishna's mercy, that I did some bhakti sometime in the past. And this could be a reciprocation of Krishna to strengthen or to motivate me to do more bhakti. We never think like that. But that also, just to be perfectly fair, is another possibility, that it is Krishna's reciprocation for some little bhakti that we might have done at some point. That is a way for Krishna to protect and provide, even though it was not ananya. So we must remember that Krishna, even if we do little bhakti, Krishna reciprocates. Krishna is always doing yoga kshemam vahamyaham. We must never forget that. Lastly, I will just mention this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 86th verse and 86th chapter, 59th verse. There is a line, this is the last verse of the chapter, where it is said, Bhagavan bhakta bhaktiman. Bhagavan bhakta bhaktiman. What it means is that Bhagavan is a bhakta of the bhaktiman. Bhaktiman means one who is full of bhakti, which means devotee, a pure devotee. So Bhagavan is a bhakta of a pure devotee. Bhagavan becomes bhakta of the pure devotee. So this is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So there is this long discussion about this 9.22. So please, the learning from all this is that please put your faith in Krishna, complete faith in Krishna, and fearlessly do Krishna bhakti. And do your daily job as well. Don't quit your daily job. Arjuna did not quit his daily job. Do your daily job, but always keep Krishna in your mind. Ananyas chintayanto ma. Always keep Krishna in your mind, in your heart. Do your work and have full faith that Krishna, not demand, not an expectation. There is a difference, but faith that you are under Krishna's shelter and nothing bad will happen to you. And even if something happens, it is a small token. It is a, yeah. So, so please keep that in mind. Okay. Fearlessly do Krishna bhakti. So now we spent a lot of time on this one verse. Let's do some more verses and then we will do Q&A. And I have one question from the form, anonymous form, that I will be addressing about forgiveness. So that I don't know who that person is. It was anonymous, but if that person is here and listening, I have that question and we will address it. So stay tuned. So 9.23. So now coming back to the topic of the demigods. So here the topic was of pure devotees, but if you remember, the topic we were talking about was the 9.21 to 25 is about demigods or devis and devatas. So what happens to those who are worshipping devis and devatas? So in this verse 9.22, Lord Krishna is saying that my devotees, who are my pure devotees, they don't miss out. They don't, they are not left out from any protections or provisions. Okay. Now, 9.23, Lord Krishna is saying that, but those who are worshipping the demigods are doing it in an incorrect or a wrong way. So let us see 9.23. Ye apyanya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitah te pimameva kaunteya yajantya avidhipurvakam. So the verse is Ye pya anya devata bhakta. Those who are anya devata, other devatas bhakta, those who are devotees of other demigods. Yajante shraddhayanvitah. And they are engaged, anvitah, engaged in worshipping yajante with faith to those devatas. So you can have faith towards anybody. Faith does not mean only to Krishna. So Lord Krishna is saying there is faith, there is worship, but instead of to me, it is to the devis and devatas, to the demigods. What about them? Te api mameva kaunteya. They are actually worshipping me only. Yajanti, next line there is yajanti. So they are actually worshipping me only. But yajanti avidhi purvakam, but in a wrong way. Avidhi purvakam. So those who are worshipping the demigods are the two main points in this verse. What are the two main points? That those who are worshipping the demigods. So the first point is, I will remove this one here. So those who are worshipping the demigods, the first point is they are actually worshipping me, but in a wrong way. So these are the two main points. Actually, they are worshipping me only. There is a but they are doing so in a wrong way. This is the other emphasis of this verse. Now, there are many commentators of of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, hundreds of people have commented, and some people, they forget the second point. What they say is, oh, those who are worshipping the demigods are also worshipping Krishna, period. That is such a wrong way to interpret. The essence of this verse is to discourage demigod worship, or I will explain, to worship the demigods in the right way. What they are saying is that they are encouraging demigod worship. Doesn't matter who you worship, whether you worship Krishna, that's fine. If you worship the demigods, that is also going to Krishna. So no problem. One way or the other, you are going to Krishna, or your worship is going to Krishna. It doesn't matter. They are all equal. So at a certain level, they would equate Krishna to demigods. That is so wrong because they are skipping this avidhi purvakam. This one word is a very, very important part of the verse. This is the second main point of the verse, that they are doing so in a wrong way, avidhi purvakam. So in a sense, they are promoting demigod worship. But the next two verses, 9.24 and 9.25, will clearly state that the difference between demigod worship versus Krishna bhakti or Krishna worship. But as far as this verse is concerned, they will say that they are the same. So be careful. That's why we are going in this class through the Sanskrit. And of course, Srila Prabhupada has obviously translated it fully. He says that those who are devotees of the other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me. That is first point. O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. That's the second point. Okay. So that is, that's the point. Now, what is the wrongness? The question that you can ask is that, okay, if I am worshipping the demigods, devis and devatas, ultimately my worship is going to Krishna. This verse says that, isn't it? If I am worshipping the demigods, ultimately it is going to Krishna. Then why is it wrong? Or what is the wrong aspect? So what is the, if I say, wrongness in indirectly worshipping Krishna via the medium of demigods? what is the problem? That's the question one can ask. It's a very important question. It is indirect, fine, but what is wrong? Ultimately, it is going through some longer path. It's not a direct path, it's a longer path, but ultimately it is reaching the destination, my worship. So the answer is that the main problem is not whether our or the destination of our worship. That is not the that's not the point. The point is our consciousness. In our consciousness, when one is worshipping the demigods, one is not conscious of Krishna. Krishna is not present in our consciousness. Only the demigods are present. So one is not conscious of Krishna at all. One is only conscious of the demigods. That is problem number. That's one of the main problems. This is the main problem. Then other problems. The other problems are that more often than not, 99% or even more, 99%, demigod worshippers worship the demigods for some material benefits. And not only the material benefits are material to maintain the necessity of the body, not just for the basic livelihood, but for sense gratification. Sukh sampati ghar aave, kashta mite tanka. That's a very common prayer. Sukh sampati ghar aave, so that I can enjoy all the sukh sampati. And kashta mite tanka, all the disease and everything should go away so that I can fully enjoy. So the mood of the worship of the demigods is for sense gratification. And in fact, all the Vedic processes, the vidhis, avidhi purvakam, it is written here, right? So in the Vedas, there are so many vidhis that are given for worshipping the demigods. Many vidhis are given. But the purpose of those vidhis, what is the purpose? The purpose is regulated sense gratification. So the Vedas, and this is topic we had discussed many months back when we were discussing the initial chapters of Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of Vedas is to take us gradually from incessant or unrestricted sense gratification to regulated sense gratification, and then gradually take us towards bhakti. Gradually. So the gradual word is very important. So the Vedas take us very slowly, and in that process, ultimately all the processes of interactions and exchange and reciprocation with the demigods is ultimately for sense gratification. So it's a very slow process, and it is meant for sense gratification. So when we worship the demigods through the Vedic processes, the result is sense gratification. Now, what is the problem with that? The problem is, now there is a benefit. You go from unregulated to regulated. That is good. But the problem is that this process is very slow and it is not conducive for Kaliyuga. It will last many lifetimes. So if you are fine with that, then fine, no problem, worship the demigods. The other problem is that the sense gratification, the objects of sense gratification, even though it is meant to be regulated, it devolves into unregulated. So that risk of going a little bit towards regulated, but then again becoming unregulated exists. So all these problems are there in the worship of the demigods, because the process itself is meant for objects of sense gratification. Now, what is the solution? Or I can say, in this verse, Lord Krishna is saying that it is avidhi purvakam. So what is the correct process? What is the vidhi purvakam way to, correct way to worship demigods? You can ask that question, right? Or one can ask that question. What is the correct way? This is the avidhi purvakam way. What will be the vidhi purvakam way? What will be the right way? Now, Lord Krishna doesn't cover this in the Bhagavad Gita itself, but there are answers from the Bhagavatam and from our acharyas. We all know that first of all, the first solution is no need to worship demigods. That's the most simple and straightforward solution. Why you even want a correct way to worship demigods? Why you even want to worship demigods? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, verse number 14, very, very famous verse where Narad Muni is instructing the Prachetas. And in this verse, Narad Muni says that no need to worship the demigods. Just worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, and all your worship will satisfy all the demigods. The whole universe will be satisfied. Just like when you water the roots of a tree, the whole tree is satisfied. You don't water the leaves, the branches, etc. individually. Or when you feed the stomach, the whole body is satisfied. You don't feed the limbs and the other parts individually. You just put food in the stomach. In the same way, we should just worship the Supreme Lord. No need to worship. In fact, Srila Prabhupada in the purport says that no need to, he uses the word bribe. No need to bribe the demigods. Why you want to go the bribing route? Now, people from India will recognize this or will appreciate this point, that when you want to get some work done, you bribe some officer and he will do the work. Why you have to do that? Just pay your taxes to the central government. You lead an honest life. Don't try to bribe the officers so that you can avoid the taxes and yet get the benefits. Just pay your tax to the central government, to the central treasury, and the benefits will come to you. So first answer is no need to worship the demigods. Just worship Lord Krishna directly. The second point is that again, the question is, what is the correct way to worship demigods? The other point is that if you must worship them, let's say, demigods, then ask them not for material benefits, but ask them for Krishna or Krishna Bhakti. Very nice example of this is the gopis of Vrindavan. If you read the 10th canto, I think it is the 25th chapter or something like that, where the gopis go and worship Mother Durga, who is one of the devis. She's a demigod. Her name in that chapter is Mother Durga or Mother Katyayani. And there, what are the gopis praying to Mother Katyayani for? What is their prayer?
To have Krishna as their husband.
Very nice. Exactly. That's all they are asking Mother Katyayani. And that is a perfect example of demigod worship. So if you have to worship the demigods, no problem, as long as you are conscious of Krishna in your mind. The third point is, and I think Srila Vishvanath Chakravarthy Thakur or Baladev Vidyabhushan, one of them, writes in their commentary that even if you are worshipping the demigod, you should be in your consciousness. You are fully aware, you are 100% aware that demigods, that this particular demigod who I'm worshipping to is a part and parcel or a servitor of Krishna. And then you can worship the demigod. So you are fully conscious that yes, he's just a servitor, and through him I am passing my request to Krishna. That is also okay. And finally, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that even if you want anything material, because demigods are famous for giving material benefits, isn't it? Even though in 9.22 Krishna is saying, I can give yoga kshemam vahamyaham, I will give. But if you have to ask, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, even if you have to ask, better to ask Krishna for those material benefits than to go through demigods. Krishna will give. He will see, okay, he's a little immature devotee. He doesn't know that, asking for material benefits may not be the best thing, but he will give. Just so that our faith is strengthened. Krishna will think, okay, if I give it to him, he will become more convinced that yes, Krishna bhakti is good. So like that, Krishna will do everything to get the devotee closer to him. So Srila Prabhupada writes, even if you have to ask, better to ask Krishna instead of demigods. Even if you have to ask material benefits. Material benefits. Okay. So all these points are being covered. So that is the avidhi purvakam aspect of this verse. Clear? Okay. Then we come to 9.24. In 9.24, Lord Krishna is expanding on the avidhi purvakam aspect. Like I said earlier, some commentators, they just skip this part. Which part? But in a wrong way. They just say, oh, whoever is worshipping the demigods, they are worshipping me. So it's okay. They are promoting demigod worship. They forget this part. But when you come to 9.24, you cannot forget unless you skip the whole verse. In 9.24, Lord Krishna is clearly stating the difference in 9.24 and 25. There is difference between Krishna bhakti and devata bhakti or deva bhakti. So let us see 9.24, that what is the avidhi purvakam and what is the difference between the worship. So 9.24, aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha natu mam abhijananti tatvena ataschyavanti te. So what is Lord Krishna saying here? That aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha. That all the sacrifices that one does, yagyas that one does, whether it is directly to me or indirectly to the demigods. There are so many, again, these vidhis described in the Vedas for doing various type of sacrifices or yagyas to the demigods. So Lord Krishna is mentioning the same thing, that in the previous verse, ultimately they worship me only. Here he is saying, I am the bhokta and prabhu. Bhokta. What is the meaning bhokta? That I am the enjoyer.
Enjoyer.
And Prabhu means I am the Lord. So I am the Lord and I am the enjoyer of all the sacrifices that anybody is doing towards anyone. But the problem is what? The problem is, like I said, the main problem. What did I say? The main problem is forgetfulness of Krishna. Our consciousness, in our consciousness, Krishna is not there. That is the point Lord Krishna is bringing up here. That na tu mam abhijananti. Abhijananti means they don't jante hain. Abhijananti means to know or to be aware of. Janna. Na means they do not know. Na tu mam abhijananti. They don't know that I am the essence of these yagyas. Tattvena ataschevantite. That I am the essence of all kind of worship to all the demigods. The essence is only me. They do not know this, which means that they are worshipping the demigods without the essential knowledge, the essential or in essence knowledge that I am the ultimate receiver, or I can say enjoyer and Lord of the sacrifices. So what is the main problem? The main problem is in the consciousness. They think they are directly worshipping the demigods. And in many cases, they think that the demigod, whichever particular demigod, is the Supreme Lord. Isn't it true? Now, many of you, I think all of you that I can see here, are from Indian origin, isn't it? And many of us are familiar with worship of devis and devatas. How many of you, and all of us have done demigod worship, I have also done. How many of you do, when you are doing demigod, and when you were doing demigod worship, were doing it with Krishna in your mind, that ultimately Krishna is the receiver? How many? Anybody want to raise their hand, honestly?
Now we do it.
Not now, then.
We were not aware.
No.
Yeah, before reading Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
That's question number one. So no Krishna consciousness, correct? Not conscious of Krishna. Without this tattvena, abhijananti tattvena, na abhijananti tattvena. You did not have that tattva knowledge. You were definitely in the na abhijananti tattvena. Not in the abhijananti tattvena was not the case. You were na abhijananti tattvena. Correct? Second question. So that was the first question. Were you conscious of Krishna? How many of you, when you were worshipping the demigods, considered that demigod to be the Supreme Lord? I used to. I was, had great astha, great, I was in Mother Durga.
Yeah, I mean, we take all of them as Lord.
Yeah, either you take all of them as same, or whichever demigod, or in some cases, I have been asked this question that, oh, I have heard that Mother Durga is the supreme goddess and even Krishna comes from Mother Durga. I have heard that question.
Actually, in India, there are a lot of these mythological TV series which are based on specific gods, which you kind of see growing up.
Yeah. So,
and every series has a specific god which they basically focus on. And
Yeah. So we can get our spiritual knowledge from TV series, or we can get it from Shastra. So here we are reading Bhagavad Gita, which is the most fundamental Shastra. Everybody in India will agree that Bhagavad Gita is very, very standard and very, very, it is the sort of the gold standard, so to say, of spiritual knowledge. So here we can see directly from Bhagavad Gita what is being said about demigod worship. So many of us believed, first of all, during demigod worship, from our own personal example, we could see that we were not conscious of Krishna. And in many cases, we even considered the demigod to be the Supreme Lord. That is the Avidhi Purvakam aspect.
There's a point actually.
Okay, hold on. Please raise your hands and ask your questions. Too many people are talking over each other.
Actually,
Prabhuji, when I was
okay.
Mataji, you go first.
Prabhuji, when I was a child, when at home, when Shraddha was offered, there used to be a big leaf putting all the dishes, whatever that they cooked, and they used to say it is Mahavishnu's thing. I used to ask my daddy why it is then nobody is eating. I had this doubt, but my father was telling, oh, we have to do it, he said, but he was not giving me the proper answer.
Yeah. So by reading the Shastra properly, under proper guidance, we can get our answers. Yes, Ramakanta Prabhu.
So actually from the various Puranas, they describe as in particular Purana, Shiv Purana says, Narad Purana says, they describe it that this God is the Supreme God. And that's why the confusion.
Yeah, so that is a very good point. So there are various Puranas that are describing that the particular deity of that Purana, like Shiv Purana. Then there is Devi Purana. They are describing that Mother Devi is the supreme goddess. Shiv Purana is going to exemplify Lord Shiva as the Supreme Lord. Okay, so now I will answer this question. Your question is, why is it like that? Correct? So first of all, if you go into the depth of the Shiva Purana or the Devi Purana, two very, at least two that I can speak of, and I have heard this from senior devotees. If you go into the depths, you will see that it is revealed that this is supreme. Now, supreme may mean at a certain level. In that context, it does not mean the absolute topmost. So in some very, very internal verses, it is mentioned that there actually is Lord Vishnu who is superior to them. But that is mentioned in a very cryptic way and a very non-obvious manner, or it is hidden in the Devi Purana and Shiv Purana. However, the purpose, now question you can ask is, why is it hidden? Why is it put like on the front door, on the very first or verse, or in a very prominent way? The purpose is that the various Puranas that have been written for various categories of people. If there is a person who already has a lot of astha or a lot of faith in Lord Shiva, there is no point in destroying that faith and saying, oh, you must come to Lord Krishna. No point in that. Lord Krishna says in the 7th chapter, let us see that verse, that if somebody is showing his faith towards a particular demigod or a devata, I make that faith stronger so that he can be fully devoted to that demigod. Lord Krishna is himself saying that there is no competition, and there is no, Lord Krishna does not instruct that if you are worshipping a particular demigod, you must stop that and start worshipping me. Let them take the gradual route. In due course of time, maybe over a few lifetimes, next lifetime or after that, they will get the real understanding that Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So let us see some of those verses in the Bhagavad Gita itself.
Thank you for this explanation, sir. Because I was facing the same problem. I was sharing whatever I am learning from you with my friend, one of my friends, and she was reading Shiv Purana. But I could not defend that why in Shiv Purana it is written that Lord Shiva is supreme.
Yes, absolutely. And so I will answer a couple of more things. So let's look at 7.21. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. Are you able to see my screen? As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So there is no competition. Lord Krishna is not trying to take over the demigods, etc. Whatever one wants, Lord Krishna arranges him to get connected with that demigod. If one is very interested in material opulence, he will get attached to some demigod from whom he can get that. Slowly he will realize, and that could take a long time. That is why in the just two verses previous to this, what does Lord Krishna say? Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevah sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many lifetimes, such people, finally they realize what? Vasudeva sarvamiti. That ultimately Vasudeva, who is Vasudeva? Is it Lord Shiva? Is Vasudeva Shiva? No.
Krishna.
Is Vasudeva Devi? No. Vasudeva very clearly is Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So after many lifetimes, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Ant means after. After many lifetimes, one may come to this realization. So it may take, it's a long journey. Okay. It's a long journey. And
Prabhuji, can I say something?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me finish my thought and then you can say. Finally, in the Bhagavad Purana itself, you will see that Bhagavad Purana is the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavata Purana. Same thing, Srimad Bhagavata Purana is the last Purana. This was written at the very end after all the Puranas have been written. And in the Bhagavad Purana itself, it is mentioned that the previous Puranas that have been written were written for some specific temporary purpose. But the highest knowledge is given in the Bhagavad Purana. So there are all these things that are substantiated, but again, the goal of Lord Krishna or Bhagavad Gita or Srila Prabhupada or me is not to impose the supremacy of Lord Krishna on somebody who has faith towards Lord Shiva or Goddess Durga or anything like that. And in your life, if you encounter such people, don't shake their faith. Please don't do that. If they have very strong faith towards Lord Shiva, that's a good thing. 99.99% people in this world have strong faith and strong devotion to whom? To Maya, money. That is their God. At least these people have strong faith in Devi or Shiva or whoever else. Don't impact that. You should actually be thankful to them that at least they are not running behind Maya. They are sincerely trying to go through this path, like I discussed, of regulated sense gratification or regulated detachment. And let Lord Krishna show them the way. Do not impose your understanding on them. Okay. So now first we will go to, I think, Parul Mataji. She wanted to make a comment, and then Saloni Mataji has her hand raised.
Prabhuji, I wanted to say that my husband is a big devotee of Shiva. So he and I were having a discussion the other day. And my response to his, whether Shiva is bigger or Krishna, was like in my heart, I did not like shake his faith, but in my heart, I believe that in one of the videos that I heard, like maybe Amrinder Prabhu or somebody who said that even Shiva says Ram, Ram, Ram sitting in the Himalayas, which is, he's a pure devotee of Krishna or Vishnu.
Yes.
So if I bow down to Shiva, I'm not...
Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, in the Srimad
Yeah.
Bhagavatam it is written.
Yeah.
That
So in that,
Hmm.
yeah, so in that case, I will bow down to the devotee of the Vishnu, which actually it's bigger, because Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, everything says if you worship my devotee, if you feed my devotee, I actually get more happy.
Correct. But you are doing it with Krishna consciousness.
With Krishna consciousness, correct.
Yes. And that is the right way. That is the Vidhi Purvakam, which we already discussed. So that's correct. Yeah. And like, for example, have you, just a very obvious example, have you seen any Hanuman Bhakta? There are so many Hanuman Bhaktas, correct? Have you seen any Hanuman Bhakta who is not conscious of Ram? Not possible, isn't it? Right? Therefore, Hanumanji is not counted as a demigod. Because anyone who is a bhakt of Hanumanji is automatically bhakt of Lord Ram. So no problem. So bhakti of Hanumanji is never discouraged, because it is direct bhakti of a pure devotee of the Lord himself. So no problem. So if you are worshipping Lord Shiva or any demigod with that consciousness that he or she is a pure devotee of the Lord, no problem. Even the gopis did that. So if they do that, then we have the license. Okay, thank you very much. But don't, like I said, I know you didn't say that and you don't have that intention, but don't enter into any argument or conflict or anything. You must, on the contrary, have a lot of respect for them, for their devotion and bhakti to whichever demigod they are devoted to. Okay, that is not only the right thing to do, but it is a Vaishnava etiquette. You will not be representing Srila Prabhupada or Lord Krishna if you pick up a fight or an argument or a conflict. That is not becoming of a Vaishnava. Okay, Vaishnavas are very friendly, very calm and simple and accommodating. Yes, Saloni Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. I just had a question because I heard something interesting a couple of years ago. So somebody said that if you are in a mode of ignorance yourself, then for you to even get bhakti of Shree Hari, you have to have the kripa of a bhakt, which is why you should pray to Shivji, because he's Param Vaishnav. Is that the right approach to take the journey, or like?
Yes, that is absolutely okay. You can directly worship Lord Krishna to send a devotee in your life who can guide you, and any devotee who guides you is called a guru, whether it is a marga pradarshak guru or a shiksha guru or a diksha guru or anything. But yes, directly you can worship or pray to Lord Krishna to send somebody to help you or guide you in your devotional service, even if one is completely in the mode of ignorance. No problem. Bhakti is not limited to those in the mode of goodness. It is available to every single living entity in the whole universe. Now, it is much easier for those in the mode of goodness to do bhakti in a proper consciousness. One thing one must remember, that the essence of bhakti is the S cubed. What is S cubed? Serious, sincere, and sustained. So typically what happens in the mode of ignorance is that it is in a spike. It goes like this and then it comes down. or in the mode of passion. Oh, I will do a lot of bhakti. So, for 2 days, one is, completely, always thinking of the Lord and everything. Then on the 3rd day, it begins to go down, and the 4th day, and by the 10th day, you are back to square one. So sincere, serious, and sustained is very, very important. So, maybe there is temporary seriousness, but long-term seriousness, long-term genuineness, sincerity, and sustenance. So all these are possible best in mode of goodness. But wherever one is, one can start and one can pray to send a devotee to guide and help. Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Ram Prabhu, you are raising your hand.
Though I was brought up in Bombay, there are 2 aspects which, being born in a South Indian family, I am gifted, I would say. One is, even though we have Narayana and other demigods in our sanctorum, but we know through Vishnu Sahasranama recitals, that is one aspect where we know for sure Vishnu, Narayana is the Supreme Lord. And also we used to attend quite often discourses about Ramayana and Mahabharata by learned people in temple. So these 2 things helped a lot, I would say.
Very nice. Yes, Vishnu Sahasranam and hearing Ramayana and Mahabharata. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, these are some of the gifts of our culture. Modern culture is more like Marvel culture, Superman, Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. Our culture used to be Ramayana and Mahabharata. They were our superheroes. Yes, okay. Anybody else has any questions? So I don't think we'll go through more verses today. We covered till 9.24. We could do 9.25. I will see. It's a simple verse, so that next week we can start from 9.26. Okay, let's cover one more verse. 9.25 is straightforward and should not take much time. And then we will deal with the forgiveness question. Anything else was there? Am I forgetting?
In the Vishnu Sahasranamam itself, Parvati ji will ask Shivaji, which is the Kena Upayana Laguna, that is, which is the easiest way. Then Shiva will answer, Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manoram.
Very nice. Yes, absolutely correct, Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes. Okay. So 9.25. And in the Bhagavatam also it is mentioned, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, that Lord Shambhu is the topmost Vaishnava. Vaishnava means he is the topmost devotee of Vishnu. Vaishnava means Vishnu's devotee. So, okay, very nice. So 9.25 is another verse which is describing the various destinations of especially the demigod worshippers and few more, and Krishna's worshippers. Okay. So what is the destination of demigod worshippers? The planet of demigods, planets, various planets of the various demigods, like Swargaloka and so on, which we had discussed in, for example, 9.21, 9.20 and 21, 20 and 21, Lord Krishna says that, you go to the Surendra Lokam or the Swargalokam and you enjoy vast pleasures. So you go to the planets of demigods. Guess where do Krishna's worshippers go?
Golok.
Yes, they go to...
They go to Krishna.
Yes, they go to Vaikuntha Lok or Goloka. various names are there, Vaikuntha Lok, Goloka, etc. So that is what is being said in this 9.25. And there are two more categories that are mentioned: those who are worshipping the Pitras and those who are worshipping the Bhutas. Now, not many are there in this category these days, but the classification also is that the worshippers of the demigods typically are the ones who are in the mode of goodness. The worshippers of Pitras are in the mode of passion, and the worshippers of the Bhutas are in the mode of ignorance. So now many people are, 99% of the people today are in the mode of passion. Most of the population in this world is mode of passion, but they are worshipping demigods. But ultimately the goal is for ultimate sense gratification, not even to make progress in regulated sense gratification. That is not the goal, just it is ultimate sense gratification, unrestricted. So then they should actually be worshipping the Pitras, but they worship the demigods. So there is some sort of a, a gray area here. But the verse is saying that those who are worshipping the demigods go to the planets of demigods. Those who worship the Pitras go to the planets of the Pitras. Those who worship the Bhutas go to the planets of the Bhutas. But the most important point is, those who worship me always live with me. So here the main distinction why this verse is there in this section is to draw the difference between the demigod worshippers and Lord Krishna's worshippers. That is the main point. So let us see 25 quickly. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitra vrata bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajino pimam. So the first line is yanti deva vrata devan, that those who are worshippers of the demigods, deva vrata, devan, they go to the places of the devas. Devan means wherever the devas are, they go there. Pitrin yanti pitravrata, those who are worshippers of the Pitras go to the places of the Pitras. Bhutani yanti bhutejya, those who are doing the ijya, ijya means worship of the Bhutas, they go and live with the Bhutas. Yanti madhyajino, madhyajino, yajini means, yaji means worship. So madhyaji means my worship. The last verse of 9th chapter is man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji namaskuru, mam namaskuru. Madhyaji means do my worship. Same word is there, madhyaji. So yanti madhyajino, so who are doing my worship. Yanti means they go to where? Mam, which means they come to me. So that is the essence of this verse. So the Vedas are describing the various processes of worship of the demigods. The Vedas also describe the worship of Bhutas and Pitras, and the destination is being listed here. Okay. And Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan says in the commentary that the benefit of going to me, of Krishna Loka or Vaikuntha Loka, is infinite happiness. You can, he literally writes, you can play in Krishna's playground. And you can always stay close to me. So these are the 3 points. You enjoy infinite happiness, always are close to me, and you are playing in my playground. Just like a child who is under the protection of a very, very strong father. So that is the essence of this verse. Okay, very nice. Now we will spend a few minutes on a very important question that came to me. So we had a lot of good question answers. So no more questions today. We will close today's topic with one question. Okay, there is one question on the chat which I forgot. What about those who worship Krishna and also engage in devi-devata worship? So this was asked, I think, long back at 6:45.
Yeah.
I hope it is clear.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, very nice. Okay, so the question that came to me, and I will summarize it because saying the question may divulge some personal details, but the question of forgiveness. What is the meaning of forgiveness? And the question was something of the nature that this person is unable to forgive a very, very close relative, a sibling. And the sibling, it seems, said some very harsh words to the parent. And the relationship between the sibling and the parent was completely broken due to some very harsh words. And this person, obviously, this person is on the side of the parents, and this person cannot bear the pain of what was said and is carrying that pain in the heart from many, many, many years of something that the sibling said to the parent. Okay, so you understand the situation, right? And also that now, of course, the sibling is a, brother or sister, whatever, the sibling is a sibling, there is love. So there is this conflict, at least that's what I understood from the question. There is this conflict in this person's mind or heart that I want to connect back with my sibling, with my brother or sister. And at the same time, there is this remembrance of this harsh conflict. So unable to sort of get over it, how to get over it. And yet there is a desire to connect back and revive the broken relationship. So anyway, we all have such, things. This was this particular specific person, but we all have or may have such things which are almost similar or whatever. And how to forgive. So a couple of things I want to mention. Okay. And I will mention them in increasing order of, I would say, what should I say? Increasing order of pointedness.
Yeah, effectiveness. Yeah.
Intensity,
fine. Yeah. So the first point is, what is the meaning of forgiveness? The meaning of forgiveness is to let go of the burden on your heart. Okay? Because when you are carrying the grudge, forgiveness means, or not forgiving means you're carrying the grudge. Who are you harming? You are only harming yourself. Maybe you are harming the other person also, because out of not forgiving, you may be occasionally, whenever you come face to face, or whenever there is some poison, something that is said, or there is some action that if you cross each other, you turn your face the other way. The other person can see that you turned your face. So that person is also affected. But maybe if there is no contact, no anything, then at least you are carrying the baggage in your heart. And that baggage that you are carrying, who is it harming? It is ultimately harming you only. So the purpose of forgiveness is to let go of the attachment. Ultimately, that grudge, the opposite of forgiveness is grudge. You're carrying the grudge, or you're carrying the memory, or whatever it may be, carrying the resentment in your heart. So to let go of the attachment to the grudge, or the resentment. And in many cases, it is the attachment to some kindly mute yourself, to your self-righteousness. I am right and you were wrong. You should not have done this. You are very sure that that other person should not have done this. One is 100% sure who is right, who is wrong. And I am right, you are wrong. So giving up that attachment, to let go of this attachment to some kind of self-righteousness. But so that, now this is where the first sentence, what I wrote here, from here to here, is what most self-help people will say. They will end here, because it is creating a burden on your heart. It is creating not only emotional or mental problems, it is creating physical problems also. Some blood tests, you do some research, you will find some blood tests and this and that, where they can find out that, there is even physical problems that occur, blood pressure, and all these things happen. They will stop here. Through the study of spiritual books or spiritual knowledge, we will extend this definition so that you can devote yourself fully to Krishna Bhakti. The main thing that this grudge or this resentment that it is robbing you of is your ability to do Krishna Bhakti properly. That is what it robs you of. What is more important in your life? Krishna Bhakti or that attachment? I am right. That person should not have done it. Whatever you say, but that person should not have done it. Oh, everything is fine, but he or she should not have done like this. So everything is, you will hear, but you will not let go. The but will always be there. But he or she should not have done like this. Just give it up, because that but is causing you to make further progress in your own spiritual life. And also their spiritual progress. If there is any contact, every time you turn your face or every time you remind them, you did like this, you did like this, you are opening up wounds. Not only your wounds, their wounds. The ultimate loss for both people is that you are not able to make full progress in your bhakti. So let go of this attachment of being right and harming. Now it doesn't mean, now this is where, so second point, since we are running out of time, the second point I want to mention, forgiveness at one level does not mean that you will open yourself to being harmed again. That's not the meaning that now you have forgiven. Like, let's say I'll take a very simple example. Or like Mahatma Gandhi or Jesus Christ says, if one slaps you on one face, you turn the other cheek. That's a very high standard. At a lower standard, it does not mean that if one slaps you on one side, you must forgive, but it does not mean you turn your other cheek. Now that is true, but that's a much higher level of spiritual elevation. But if you are not there, you must at least forgive and leave. Don't turn your cheek, because he will slap you again. Then you turn the third cheek and he will slap you again. You'll keep getting slapped. At some point, you will lose patience and you will slap back. Then you are back to square one. So best is to forgive and leave. It doesn't mean you put yourself into that situation all over again, till you have spiritually advanced enough. So Jesus Christ can say that. But if you come to that level of spiritual advancement, then it's fine. Then that situation applies, that if one slaps you, put your other cheek. So that was point number 2. Point number 3, and this is the last point I will mention, is that in this particular example of this sibling and, something was said, it's not that the parent died, that was mentioned in the question, that something so severe was said, the parent got a heart attack and died or passed away or something like that happened. So it looks like it is a, some kind of a, there is a lot of, there is definitely a lot of hurt and a lot of suffering. But so recently, like I was gone for 2 weeks, we did not have class, and I went to Norway, Oslo. What is Oslo famous for? Anybody knows? At least the one thing that I knew it is famous for.
Midnight sun.
Bike.
Okay, that is famous for everything in the above the Arctic Circle is famous for midnight sun. Not only Oslo.
Nobel Peace Prize event.
Exactly, the Nobel Peace Prize. So the Nobel Peace Prize is given in Oslo. The remaining 4, physics, chemistry, economics, and physiology, are given in Stockholm, in Sweden. But for some reason, the Peace Prize is given in Oslo. So, and there's a big museum and a Nobel Peace Prize center where visitors can go and visit. My point is, and I visited there, and I spent a lot of time. I read every single exhibit, and I'm interested in history and all these things. And I attended many talks that were given at the Nobel Peace Prize Museum. My point is that we are so entangled and so caught up in our little web of problems. Something somebody said 10 years ago, maybe it was very harsh, but we lose touch with what is suffering, what is human suffering. We think our little suffering is so big that one is I'm burning in that suffering. Somebody save me from that suffering. That's our situation. We have not seen what is real suffering. So I urge you, I'm not saying all of you should go to Oslo and go to this place, but at least you must get in touch with the fact as to what is human suffering. And obviously it is very relevant to the Nobel Peace Prize, because almost all the Peace Prize winners have gotten in very close touch with human suffering. And they have done some great things to address this human suffering, which is why they were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, in some cases, the Peace Prize was given for political reasons. And in some cases, it was not given for political reasons. Like to Mahatma Gandhi, it was never given, because the Britishers were the, topmost, political clan of the world. They never allowed Mahatma Gandhi to be given Peace Prize. But anyway, of course, in 1948, he was nominated, but he was assassinated. That year, they did not give it to anyone. And they made a statement, no suitable living candidate was present this year. So it was an indirect award to Mahatma Gandhi. Anyway, keeping Mahatma Gandhi aside, these people have done something great in the sphere of addressing human suffering. So I urge you, everybody who considers his own suffering to be the world's largest suffering, to get in touch with what is real human suffering. And it is happening even till today. We may consider ourselves very advanced and knows we have eliminated all kind of wars and suffering. Of course, the whole Ukraine war has renewed that whole thing. But even before that, there is a lot of suffering in all places in the world. Otherwise, the Nobel Peace Prize should have been stopped if there is no suffering. And you should see what these people have, the kind of struggle that these people have gone through and the kind of suffering that exists, your own suffering will probably diminish in size. Okay, so my point is that don't try to get in touch with this and try to realize how insignificant our suffering may be compared to what is going on elsewhere in this world itself, let alone in other places which we don't know. And that should hopefully help you to come to terms and help you to forgive and realize that there could be bigger goals in life than to cling to that attachment, that like that monkey pole, who is not willing to leave the pole and feels that that pole is everything in his life. If I leave the pole, my life is nothing. That is how we consider our attachment to our self-righteousness. So these are just some ways to and ultimately, of course, the topmost thing is that, the more you indulge in your self-righteousness, the more you are taking your energy away from Krishna Bhakti. So all these points you should consider and let go. Just let go. It's not significant. It's not important. You've already spent 10 years of your life on this. Not worth spending 10 more seconds. Not even 10 more seconds. Okay. That will be 10 extra seconds lost from Krishna Bhakti. Okay. So I will stop there. It's 8:43, so we went a few minutes over. Sorry about that. I hope that person is listening, whoever sent me the question. I don't know who it is. So I hope this helps. Next week, we will not have a class. Sorry, there is another break. A devotee is visiting Portland, very nice devotee. His name is Govind Prabhu. He is a very, very beautiful Kirtan singer. So we will have programs with him all over Portland during the weekend. So next weekend, we will be, our family and everybody from Portland will be attending their program, his Kirtan program. So we will meet you in 2 weeks. So next week, again, I'm sorry, there's a break. Okay. All right. So with that, I will stop here and I will take your permission to leave. And Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I stop.